since it is the end of the year, is the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards for Best of 2023. Right now, we're accepting nominations. We have a little survey thing that you can fill out and say what your best project, the best AV over IP solution, even your best AV Professional of the Year for 2023. Matt, you're not allowed in the thing because last time you tried to usurp the throne.
It was me. It was
not you.
It was a write-in. I won. No, I wrote it in.
Shameful.
Expected.
I've got to win this one. I bribed everyone in Hollywood.
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk free D-Tools, ISE 2024, and who has the ball. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 410, not particularly achievable. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek, your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Mr. Peter Aylett. He's a partner at Officina Acustica, which I think I got sort of accurate in my Canadian Italiano. How'd we do?
Close enough, Matt. Close enough.
Close enough. I need my Italian wife down here to do it for me. That'd get it over. Then we have Mitchell Toolen. He's our producer here at AVNation. How you doing, Mitch?
Can't even get my name right.
Dude, it's a day.
It's okay, because I am supposed to be here for Rachel Bradshaw, who had to bow out, and we hope that everything is going all right with her. Because otherwise, I'm not sure why I'm here. It's usually the question that I have. But I am glad to be here and happy to see what's going on at the residential space.
Always appreciate you filling in. We're going to kick this off with a story that comes to us from Residential Tech Today. D-Tools cloud software is now available at no cost. They are now offering a solo plan for free use of that platform for a single user to manage their sales pipeline, estimate jobs, leveraging D-Tools project library, as well as dealer-specific pricing for proposals, signing contracts, change orders, POs, invoices, collect payments. The whole kit and caboodle is available now, again, for free as a cloud solo user, which is a fairly big deal. Peter, let me start with you on this. This is probably the first major platform to be available for free. I know Portal had a free tier for a while, and that kind of disappeared after a little bit. But D-Tools has been the de facto standard for our industry for a long time. What does it mean for the industry to see this now available at no cost for integrators?
I mean, it can only be positive for everyone, can't it? For D-Tools, it means people get to install it, use it, trial it, see what it's all about. Happy days.
Mm-hmm.
And for integrators, if you're a little one-man band, then it might be all you need. And with little one-man bands, it's all about keeping costs down, keeping a gross profit as high as you can, and making some money. For a bigger company, and my experience of D-Tools is D-Tools really comes into its own when it is networked, it is shared, that the whole project team has access to it, and then D-Tools will charge for multi-seat licenses. So yeah, I'm sure it's positive all round.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Mitch, one of the things that I thought was really cool about this is, in addition to obviously making their cloud solo aspect free, they're also gifting a full additional free license of cloud to any of their existing customers. So if you're an existing D-Tools customer and you pay for 3 seats, they're going to give you that 4th seat for free. What does this mean to the growth and the future of D-Tools by adding, hopefully, and expanding, obviously, their dealer base, which will, again, help their analytics go further? I
think it's a great move because it's just going to add to their life for potential. You've got, first off, I do want to say we had Jason Knott on last week. He is from D-Tools, and I don't think we got a peep from him out of there. So
honestly, kind of rude, Jason.
This is a really cool thing for people to use, and sometimes his reports and things about the detail or the info that he gets from not just one integrator but all of them, to see kind of how it goes, how the whole industry is looking is really important. And I think having that kind of metrics and data to give to someone or for a customer to see, here's where things are, here's what looks good, here's what works, is really important. So I do think that extra little thing is great.
I think the other thing, when you look at software like DTools, it's got a huge amount of inertia behind it, that it's quite time intensive, setting the system up, integrating it into your business. So once you've integrated a platform like that into your business, it's unlikely you're going to want to change it after a year. So I think it has to be a great move for DTools. The more people they can get using it as the backbone to their company, and then as the company grows, they can add seats and they make money from that. I sometimes talk about the likes of Crestron, Control 4, Savant being glue products. They're the products that glue everything else together. And again, I think those are quite high inertia products, high inertia brands for companies, because the best one is the one that you know the best. It's a silly conversation saying which one's best, because they're all great, they all have their pluses, they have their minuses, but what I think is an absolute is that one you know best, that you understand deeply its pitfalls, how to make it work, that's the best one. And I think the same is the case when it comes to project management, quoting, that kind of software for a company, that once you've got it embedded into your company, it's unlikely a company is going to change that for a different one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Once you lock in and you know how to do something, that transition away from that into something new is very difficult to achieve, and most companies don't. All right, let's change topics to another topic that comes to us from AVNation.tv. The countdown to ISE 2024 is on. Barcelona hosts an unprecedented AV extravaganza with a record-breaking show floor, meaning that show floor is expanding again. Go read through the article. It covers some of the great things going on, including the fact that there's going to be over 1,300 exhibitors, with 80 companies making their debut at ISE 2024, over 700 square meters in the drone area, an ISE audio museum, the America's Cup Team New Zealand land yacht is going to be in the show floor. There's a bunch of really, really cool things going on with this one. Mitchell, leading up to this, I know you've been doing a little bit of work on the back end from our side. What do you expect to see coming out of ISE?
I expect, as this thing has said, more, which is crazy to think of. I actually did show up at ISE last year, and it was already pretty crazy how big it became. It was big enough that the King of Spain actually showed up and walked around for a little bit. So it is funny to say that they're just, here is more, because it is, I mean, that's half the reason that they jumped over from Amsterdam to Barcelona. As sad as I was to not see Amsterdam anymore, Barcelona's space is huge and it was already packed. So we are seeing a lot more just from the people that we've been previewing as part of our road to ISE, which is not going to be ready yet, but come January,
it's coming.
You will have that.
It's coming soon.
It looks like people are ready. It's no longer the question. We've always had the question, oh, are we back? Mm-hmm. It is, yes, we are back, and holy cow, it is amazing, booming. And ISE is that weird middle ground between the residential and the commercial space. Not a resi-mercial, but literally.
Oh, no, you've said the word. You've said the word resi-mercial, please.
We're not going to talk about it.
Because it's not that. It's just all of it. It is the big show. Infocom has a little bit of the, yeah, we have residential stuff, yeah, we have commercial stuff, but I don't know. ISE is such a huge international conference that I think a growth like this is only means that we're just bigger than ever.
I think we're a weird industry when we talk about residential and commercial, because let's say you're an architect, you're a builder, you're a construction company. There is no such thing as residential concrete and commercial concrete. There's just concrete. There's no such thing as residential drywall and commercial drywall. There's just drywall. There's no such thing as residential. I could go on.
I could pick a hole. Hold on, I could pick a hole in both of those arguments. There totally is commercial drywall. There's commercial MDF. There's
yeah, but there's not the distinction that one you use in a home and one you use in an office. You know, some you might buy down your local consumer shop. It's priced 10 times as much as what you'd buy at wholesale bulk. But when I look at a show like ISE, all I see are tools to do my job. All of the technology, it's simply technology to allow me to deliver what I want for my clients. And when you look at residential, often the thing that separates commercial and residential for me is that the specs of a commercial product are written by engineers. The specs of a residential product are written by marketing departments. A loudspeaker's a loudspeaker. Commercial speakers tend to look a bit shonky, but they have specs. Residential speakers have nice wood veneer, and they don't have specs. And to me, the joy of ISE is to kind of forget about the residential commercial boundary line and to go out there and dig deep into stuff that you never knew existed. Yes, it comes from a different world, but it's just the bricks and the concrete and the drywall that we use to build the systems we do for our customers. So my advice to someone going to ISE, especially for the first time, is sure, spend an hour with your friends in a residential section, but make sure you actually book time and explore and go deep into all the other areas that you never knew existed. And I almost guarantee you will find some absolute product gems that not only might be the spark for a completely different direction to take your business, but actually might solve a problem that you either never knew you had or a problem that you've been fighting for years to try and solve. So yeah, I just don't think it's useful to talk about this residential commercial divide at ISE, because to me the joy of the whole place is the fact that you've got exposure to both and you just see a whole world of opportunity.
And I would second that part about going to see because it's fun to go to the big guys and see here's their next big box. It's a cool, but you go down with the kind of the other alleyways of just like, here's a group of 4 guys who made this weird thing, and you're like, oh, this screen does this certain thing. Or it's how you get like with Just Add Power with their warp engine. It's just like you could tilt this screen whatever angle you want. I personally can't find a use for that because my brain would just say, why can't you just make it work? But a crazy one would be, it's fun to just see the weird stuff that you can get into, and AV is a place to find weird stuff.
That is true. Peter, let me ask you this. They're forecasting this to be the largest attendance ever. I believe, top of my head, one of the last years in Amsterdam topped around 80,000. The pushback I keep hearing to that is that Barcelona is a challenge to get to from, to be honest, most major cities that aren't in Europe. Is that a drawback for the international visitors? The show being moved to Barcelona just strictly due to the travel?
I mean, if you're flying exactly as you say, Matt, from a major European city, you can get a direct flight. Mm-hmm. If you're flying from outside Europe, it's possible, but maybe unlikely. So it adds another 3 hours connection and flight time each way for your travel. So yeah, you're taking up an extra 6 hours of your life. But I think in the context of the most important AV show, not necessarily when we're talking pure residential. I think CEDIA Expo is a very, very, very different show to ISE, and it's an apples to oranges comparison. Right. You're not comparing the same thing. But, to me, if you want to understand the industry, if you want to understand other industries, if you want to go deep down a rabbit hole to find extraordinarily new things, then yeah, I think that extra 6 hours is an investment. And when it comes down to it, I used to love Amsterdam. I attended there 16, 17 years straight. I always stayed at the same place. I always drank at the same bar. I was very comfortable there. But I actually outgrew it. There were tents in the car park, for crying out loud. At least in Barcelona, it's a proper venue that's nice and linear and easy to navigate with room to expand. So I know there's been a lot of talk, I wish we'd stayed in Amsterdam, but the move had to happen. And Barcelona is hands down one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So, it's not all bad.
It's a beautiful city to see while you're walking to the convention and back to the hotel.
I definitely don't miss the, going to Amsterdam in February.
You live in Florida, Mitch?
I live in the Midwest. We get all 4 seasons, but I still do not. I have a heating pad and a heating blanket and my own heater running. I don't like it.
I once said to a Dutchman in a bar, "Yeah, the weather's not great here, is it?" And he just looked at me with that very straight kind of Dutch way, and he said, "No one comes to Amsterdam for the weather." And it's true.
See, Amsterdam weather never really bothered me. It was kind of like home, just not enough snow.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up with the last story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Systems and a good friend of the show, Mr. Henry Clifford, who has the ball. Go read through the article. In it, Henry outlines a disagreement, we'll say, that he was having in a leadership meeting for his company between himself and one of their project managers about when that project manager was handing off that project to the next, manager in line who was taking over the next phase of that project's life cycle. And, when that responsibility ceased to be his. So it's a really good story, as Henry's always are, but specifically discussing, as I said, managing ownership of a project over its life cycle. Peter, when you're going through the life cycle of any project, big or small, right? It may touch 2 people who have control over it. There may be 10. Obviously, it's going to vary as the scope and scale changes and evolves, but also due to the size of your team and how many people you have internally. How do you go about devising a system, creating a program to where you can take that lead that comes in and run it all the way through completion, making sure that there's a smooth ownership transition through all those different departments and those different managers?
This is a really, really, really deep conversation. I think I've got 2 thoughts on it. The first thing is that I used to work in a very, very large company. We had 150 people over 5 countries, and it was an issue because what we found was that the salespeople were doing everything they can to make a sale, but some of the things they were promising is how should I put it? Not particularly easily achievable in the real world. They were then handing the project over to a project manager, and the project manager then had to take the pain of implementing what that salesperson promised. So what we did is we kind of, the salesperson effectively then became a complete project lifecycle customer manager. So the project manager was responsible for managing the project. The salesman, or whatever you want to call them, is responsible for managing the client through the entire project lifecycle and even beyond to the point that a year past when the system's finished, they schedule a visit to see how everything's going on, to talk about new media, to talk about potential upgrades. So I think it is absolutely critical that person that initially sold the system, described the system functionality, made promises to the customer about what was going to happen, is involved throughout the whole thing, because there are nuances in conversations that happen that you can't write down. A handover from a customer, from a project manager to a handover from a salesperson to a project manager in written form can never, ever, ever, ever capture all the nuance of a customer discovery. So I think it's essential that salespeople are involved through the whole project lifecycle. They're aware of what's happening. They have regular site visits just to make sure that the vision of what they agreed with the customer is actually getting implemented on site. And it gives them the opportunity to catch just little nuanced things that are going wrong that if you catch them during a build, they're easy to fix. If those things just get left until handover, and as you're handing it over to the customer says, but that's not what you promised me. By that time, it's a problem. So I don't think the salesperson should ever lose responsibility for delivery of the project to the client. It's the project manager's job to manage the project. It's the salesperson's job to manage the customer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Mitch, how much of this just comes down to clearly defined responsibilities and proper communication?
Everything. I mean, that's kind of like, I don't want to be too weebish here, but that's kind of the whole point of something like a Gundam. That's open communication and understanding is the fix. Will fix everything, and surely that'll just happen, right?
Yeah,
everything is understandable in a project. There's no confusion or unknown quantities. There's never any over promises and under delivery ever. But I mean, on the delivery part, that's what integrators are trying to do. Even regardless if the sales team is saying we can, give you the moon and then some, we still, the integrators still have to go, okay, well, how do we make that close to happen, or at least as much as we can get? And I think that it's important. I've kind of lost my train of thought here. I was trying to find a spot that was more about handing off a project where our great Uncle Richie said, I believe he said you don't want to be the second person in a project because you are handling whatever the first guys did, and you're going to be blamed for everything subsequently.
Yeah.
And that handoff here kind of reminds me of this exchange here, where the sales team will say, here's the things, and when it comes to the guys who are actually doing the project to make it happen, then they say, hey, but that's not this and that's not that. And it's kind of what can you do?
I mean, turkeys don't vote for Christmas over here and Thanksgiving over there. And I don't think that salespeople are going to vote for being involved in a project throughout the whole life cycle, because it's exactly as Mitch said. It's very easy for a salesperson just to hand over to a project manager, move on to the next sale. But I deeply believe that if the salesperson has some elements of customer management throughout the whole project life cycle and a bit of an overview of what's going on the project, that you'll end up with more successful projects and really, really critically happier customers that have their expectations managed.
Peter, is there a way to corral, for lack of a better term, salespeople into selling achievable results?
The way we ended up doing it is it's almost inevitable in our industry that salespeople have some kind of financial incentive to sell.
Yeah.
So what we did is we still kept that financial incentive, but we reduced it. And the rest of their financial incentive was based on overall project profitability. So quite often, salespeople are incentivized on the amount of money that they sell the system for, and not necessarily a combination of customer satisfaction and net profit on that project. And by incentivizing them on both customer satisfaction and the overall end net profit of the project, they tend to be more integrated with the project team because they want to maximize the A, customer satisfaction, and B, net profit, which is a way of them making more money. And it keeps them much closer connected with the project team, because they don't want things to be re-engineered because that costs money. They don't want things to be misspecified because that costs money. And they don't want peeved off customers, because ultimately that will delay project completion and cost them money. So there's many ways I think you could incentivize salespeople to keep connected with a project.
Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it up and leave it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Peter, if people want to connect with you, learn more about, I'm going to butcher this name again. I'll let you say it.
The email address is peter@officinaacustica.com. So it's OFFICINAACUSTICA.com. But if you just Google me, then send me a message on any one of the multiple platforms, it'll probably get to me.
Yeah, you're pretty easy to find. Mitchell, thank you for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about AVNation, where can they do that?
Yes, do not connect with me. Instead, go to AVNation.tv. We've got a brand new, nice looking site. And what we also have, since it is the end of the year, is the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards for Best of 2023. Right now, we're accepting nominations. So we have a little survey thing that you can fill out and say, who is your favorite, what your best project, the best AV over IP solution, even your best AV professional of the year for 2023. Matt, you're not allowed in the thing because last time you tried to usurp the throne, you took over the awards to try and nominate yourself.
Maybe.
Shameful.
Expected.
Check that out. Also, while you're on the site, check out our wonderful underwriters. These are the guys that get us to give you shows like this, like State of Control, Steve Greenblatt, all that and more at AVNation.tv.
That was a great pitch. I almost don't need to do mine. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter or X at Matt D. Scott and most of those social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek,
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.